Hello, everybody, and welcome to TV Shows Revisited, the spiritual successor to Quantum Leap Revisited, a show that we do once a week where we revisit classic TV shows and discuss them and evaluate them. We've been looking at some pilots of shows recently. We started off, we saw some Knight Rider. What else? We did MacGyver, but then we kind of shifted towards Star Trek. And I think it's very well timed, especially now when there's a lot of kind of very disappointing Star Trek. It's nice that we got to. It's not even legitimate Star Trek, but I won't get into that. That we can celebrate the original Star Trek. Or let's say in this case, the Next Generation. So we did the original series, and we did Where No Man Has Gone Before, and we did The Cage, the unaired pilot, and now today we're doing basically the pilot or the first episode of the Next Generation.
It's true.
This is all very true. Yes, this is happening. And I guess we'll share the screen. Oh, wait, I didn't introduce anybody. With us, we have, I'm out of it today. With us, we have Ro. Ro is the host of the Scarif podcast, the co-founder of the Red 5 Network, broadcast news production veteran. How's it going, Ro?
It's going well. I guess the lack of intro kind of throws you off, huh?
It does. It does. It feels like didn't get us like hyped and pumped for the show. It's my technical issue. I prepared a file, but something happened and I couldn't find it, and we just had to make do. Sorry for people who are expecting the intro. Next, we have with us Jill. Jill has Antiderivative Jill. She has her own channel. She does a lot of streams on Star Trek and the Twilight Zone, and it's always great having her here. How's it going, Jill?
It's going really wonderful, and I'm very thankful for good Star Trek. As you were saying, the stuff today is not legitimate. Agreed completely. But we can focus on the good stuff tonight.
Exactly. This is the good stuff. So we get to enjoy that. And then we have with us Script Doctor, who is a veteran screenwriter. He has his own Patreon where he teaches screenwriting. He's also the host of the show Scripts on Saturdays. How's it going, Script?
It's going okay. Fighting with AI, but otherwise pretty good.
Well, that is, I guess that's what's happening to everybody these days. I actually had a little bit of fighting with AI myself today because it seems to be a solution for a lot of stuff, but sometimes it doesn't understand really what you want.
No, I crashed it maybe 4 or 5 times today.
Yeah, that happens to me too sometimes.
Or just like, we don't know how to solve this. It's like, then you're not a real AI.
Right.
So also, sometimes it'll add some extra stuff that it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they'll be like, hey, you want to do this? Well, here's step 1, and if that works, go to this step. If that works, go to this step. It's like, well, what if none of those steps work? Like, why are you giving me all this information when don't even know if the first step works? It's so silly.
Well, I guess let's just see what we got here. We're going to share the screen and we'll hop right into it. We can also give a little background. This show was basically, this is from like 1987. What year did it come out?
1987, yes.
Yeah.
21 years after the first Star Trek.
How did they suddenly decide to do a new Star Trek? I mean, it seems to make sense today, but that back then it wasn't obvious that you do like a sequel show. That's what everybody wants to do today, but it wasn't obvious then.
Oh, no, it was very obvious because the movies were a hit. They were trying to get the original crew back on television, but it was a little bit tricky because William Shatner was still doing T.J. Hooker. Leonard Nimoy was getting more into directing. The cast was not so available, and so they decided, well, we'll take all the scripts we did from Phase 2 that we abandoned since we started doing the feature films, and we'll repurpose those for a brand new crew on a brand new Enterprise, and we'll make it about 85 years into the future, which is silly because generations are 25 years apart, but whatever. And they decided to go with it that way because the Star Trek movies were doing really well. Paramount was very proud of them. They had just finished Star Trek 4, which was a huge hit. And they were going into Star Trek 5, and because of that production, they were able to amortize some of the sets from the original production and some of the stuff that they built for Star Trek 5 into the new television series.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah, and Mr. Bob Justman recommends DC Fontana, and that's why we get her skills at this episode.
That's right. And then on top of that, because Gene Roddenberry didn't want to have to fight with the networks, he basically hit the ground running and went to all the affiliates to get it to sell it in syndication prior to its debut, which had almost never really been done before. So
that always surprised me. There was like, it wasn't something that was common that the way he sold this show. Like, how
no.
did this even all work out? This was very different.
Well, the one way it worked out is the fact that Star Trek in syndication was making everybody a lot of money. And so a brand new show that would skip the 100 episode limit to go straight into syndication seemed like a pretty sweet deal, because it basically meant that those affiliates got to choose whether they would buy the next season or not. And it made things a lot easier for them. And then that changed with Voyager. But regardless, like, this is how Roddenberry did it. And it basically secured the first season almost right away, because they didn't need the pilot to be approved in order for it to go. When they sold it for syndication, they sold it for the first 13 episodes. So they were just able to make it. And then from that week on, they would find out, oh, do we get another back 12? I think it was, because I think the first season is 24 episodes, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And Jill, you were telling me something, and maybe Script, something, that it was like a combination of two different screenplays that were kind of mashed together.
Yes, they are. Half the episode is written by Gene Roddenberry, and the other half is written by DC Fontana, and she ends up having to stitch it all together.
Yes, which is par for the course with with Star Trek. There's this great little blurb in one of the Star Trek books between Gene L. Coon, DC Fontana, Gene Roddenberry, and another producer whose name is escaping me. And they essentially say, hey, Gene, the scripts that you wrote, we don't think those are good enough for the debut. So we're going to go with the one from DC. Then we're going to follow up with Gene Coon. Or no, not Gene Coon. Who's the other guy? There's another guy before Gene Coon. Gene Coon came in later. But follow up on the other guy. And then Gene Roddenberry's like, yeah, okay. And then he would go and rewrite one of the scripts that was already approved. And then DC Fontana would have to rework what Gene rewrote into her script to make it filmable. And that was the relationship. And it worked, and it carried all the way into the next generation.
Was it
Gene kind of left?
Was it because you think he wasn't on top of his game at that point anymore? Was that his issue?
No, Gene Roddenberry had such a huge ego. He never felt he did anything wrong. He was a good conceptualist, but he was a terrible writer. Like he needed writers who could take the ideas and the conversations he had about what this world is and how people approach it and turn it into something useful. But he had a huge ego and he liked his name on things. And so if the script was turned in and it was good, but he thought he could make it better, he would rewrite it. And he would also put his name on it as part of the rewriting part. And then that would split the royalties between him and that writer. He famously added lyrics to the original series theme song so he could get royalties off of that. And he created the IDIC as merchandise so he could get royalties off of that too. Like, Gene was looking after a lot of money for himself.
From Alexander Courage's theme, this is true.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Oh, well, I don't know. I feel like in the original run of the original series, I don't think anybody questioned him then, but oddly later, I think everybody was questioning him, so...
Oh, no, he was being questioned all the time because he was hiring real science fiction writers. And when they found out their work was being rewritten, they'd be like, why are you doing that?
Because it needs to be Star Trek, especially for City on the Edge of Forever.
Oh, yes.
Harlan Ellison, who writes this beautiful story, but you have to change it to fit within the universe that's been created, which makes sense.
That is definitely one that had to be changed because that was antithetical to what Star Trek was originally. But there'd be some other ones that he would change. Then of course, he would famously get one of his lawyers to come in and help write some of the show episodes.
That was weird. That's the weird TNG stuff you're getting into. That guy, what is his name?
That's third season TOS. Who came in?
TNG. Oh, really? Is it the same? Is it the same lawyer who ends up in and the children shall lead?
I think so. Yes. Yeah.
I didn't heard that lawyer wrote for the original series. I'll have to look for that.
Yeah, he came in during the 3rd season, and then he later, I think, moved on to Space 1999.
What you're
for
talking about,
second season.
Freddie Freiberger.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, Freiberger. Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess
Known
we
as
can.
the serial killer of television.
He did it.
and-
Literally.
He was responsible for messing up Space 1999 also, right?
That's right.
Mhm.
Yes.
was this episode was well deceived when it came out? Did a lot of people watch it? I don't remember really.
So, well, I was 2 when this came out, so I enjoyed it as a kid. But as I got older, I learned what the initial reception was. First one was they didn't like the synthesized music. That's in the pilot. It was way too mid 80s. But they enjoyed the cast. They thought it was neat and different, bigger. One thing that didn't come until season 2, but it was kind of circulated as a criticism, which was, why is the tactical officer also the communications officer?
I did notice that. Yeah.
Like, you have
They don't-
Tasha
they
Yar.
just don't seem to have a very specific communications officer. It just happens to bounce around.
Yeah. it's weird because you got Data, who does ops, which is not the same as being the science officer. You got Geordi, the blind pilot. Then they changed him to the blind engineer. You got Riker, who's the executive officer, who just goes to planets. You got Picard, who doesn't leave the ship. And then you've got the counselor, who's there to tell Picard about people's feelings. And then you have the doctor, who is
great.
barely even a cast member on the show for the entirety of the series. And then you got the Klingon, who is there as the Klingon.
But somehow it all works though. But let's dive in. Let's see what's going on.
Sure.
So it starts off. Interestingly, they don't at this point. They're not like saying the roles, what their names are or anything. They're not like as Jean-Luc Picard.
Nope.
They're just writing whatever.
Just
They even
John
have their
Delancey
guest
gets
stars.
the title character for Q.
And
Yeah,
Zorn.
they get a title character, but he is under special guest star or something like that.
It's the 2 guest stars. You got Q and Zorn, who are named. Everybody else is just their actors for now.
So it starts off, and I think that there's some kind of voiceover with Picard, and how he's
Picard's captain's log explaining that this is a new Enterprise and it's a Galaxy class ship and flagship
so
of the fleet.
big.
It's very
I
big.
like this ship. You know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. I like this ship. You could say whatever you want. This is a good ship. It looks comfortable. They look very professional on this ship. I kind of like it.
I don't like the recliners are a little too much though.
Oh, the fact that they're always leaning back. What's funny is that those characters are positioned so far away from each other that you technically could not hear the captain behind you when you're giving an order. They're like 15 feet away. It's a big set.
If I can say something good though, I like the fact that the screens are sort of like what later would be touch screens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool that they did that. I think that they did that pretty well.
The iPads.
Yeah.
They're kind of like the precursor to all the eye technology.
Well, the funny thing is that Steve Jobs in interviews and stuff would say that he would watch Star Trek, and I wonder to myself, he didn't sit around watching it thinking,
He was taking notes.
taking
Of
notes.
course, everybody was. Like,
Yeah.
if you came up with a cool
and that's-
technology on science fiction, people would try to make it real.
Yeah, definitely. And it comes from the movies because Michael Kuda started working on movies and he made the L cars for this series, which are really beautiful.
Yeah.
This is funny because every time you see Deanna, she's like, I feel like I sense the motion from like the same. It's kind of silly. I feel like later they found better things to do with her, but in this case, they weren't 100% sure. So she just pops up from time to time, talking like you guys said, talking about other people's feelings.
Yeah, and
In this
fun
case,
fact
she feels the aliens feeling.
She does, because she was told that like she's a hybrid human alien. She grew up on an alien world, and English is her second language. So she came up with the Betazoid accent. And the irony is that no other actor, whoever came on as a Betazoid, would ever use the accent.
Right, it's so weird.
She made it clear that was specific to Betazoids.
Yeah, they even do a thing where some guest stars come in and they comment how, oh, you still have your Betazoid accent. It's like
Plus,
So,
Q's barrier kind of reminds me of the Tholian web.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Worf looks kind of weird here.
Short hair, maybe.
Short hair.
Oh, he's got what's going on here is that he's got a different headpiece from the rest of the show. This one gets lost, and we get a much better one later.
Yeah.
I do like the other ones better. This one, he seems like a little bit of a weirdo, but
It's a
I mean,
hydrocephalic
another
head.
thing I'll say is that I want to thank Denise Crosby for leaving this show, because I feel like once she left, it really paved the way for the Worf character to kind of get a larger role, and I think that's what needed to happen.
Sure.
I
Yes,
would have
agreed.
preferred, sadly, Deanna Troy leaving and
Yeah,
and Denise
I might-
Crosby singing. She's a more interesting character. Deanna's not very interesting, sadly.
Deanna
Yeah,
Troy
she's-
was.
I might have to agree with you there.
I thought Deanna Troy was rather pleasant, at least, you know.
Very pleasant. Oh, absolutely.
I
But-
thought she was more pleasant than Denise Crosby. Sorry, Jill. I know
Agreed.
now I'm like a jerk, but
No.
No, you're not a jerk. You can have preferences, but I liked Tasha Yar. I thought she was really cool, but Denise Crosby herself thought that they didn't really develop her character and that she was just saying yes sir all the time, and you could just,
she
didn't
thought
even,
she would be a bigger star, you're saying.
right.
Well, she thought she'd
yeah,
have more
but
to
she didn't really
do.
give it time.
The thing is, this was before the series figured out that you have to have episodes centered around one of the main characters. So Tasha Yar had a couple of points in the first season where you found out that she came from a failed colony out that ended up being abandoned or left this Federation. So it was a terrible place to grow up. She escaped, became an officer. She has the most interesting background of any of the characters. And she thought she was going to get more of that. And it never came. And she was also missing other opportunities that were coming her way because she would have to be on set and stand for 8 hours and not say anything because she would be in the coverage of the shot. And she was saying, well, can't we just have a double come in and be my legs since you're always doing medium shots, but you have to have me here? And the producers at that time, and Gene was one of them, saying, no, we need you here. And so she felt it was like basically she was losing out on other opportunities because the show wasn't, number one, giving her anything really of substance to do. And number two, she was missing out a bunch of other opportunities. Now, when she left the show, she ended up working pretty frequently in a lot of lower tier stuff for the next few years. And then she transitioned back into directing.
Well, I'll tell you this, and I don't know how to say it nicely. I feel like at the time she thought that she was a bigger star than she was, but then today when you see her, the main thing she holds on to is that she was on this show.
Well,
I know what I said now sounds terrible, but that's what I think.
No. She is the daughter of Bing Crosby, so there comes an ego with that. The other part too is that of all the interesting roles that she has played since, an actor will always cling to the thing that people recognize them most for. They might hate it at first because they feel like might be a typecasting issue, but she fortunately wasn't typecast. What she ended up finding out is that when Michael Piller came on board and then kind of revamped the writer's room and started putting stuff on characters, they reached out to her to say, hey, can we bring you back? And her response was, well, you killed me, so how are you going to do that? And that's when they came up with Sela.
Her daughter, yes.
Her daughter. And
Yeah.
Denise was happy to do that type of stuff.
They gave her good episodes. I feel like they rewarded her for ditching the show. They gave her a few good ones.
They didn't
but
reward her for ditching the show. They're like, we really wish you didn't leave, so let's make sure that you come, that we can get you back because we liked you.
If they were going to bring her back, why did they even kill her off to begin with? I don't know.
They killed her off because she quit because they were
Wanted to leave.
Again, this is a very different writer's room and production team for the first 2 seasons than what later came on the show. They were not compromising, and they were
Also
not
have
trying
a
to help with their
correction.
cast. We
We have a correction in the chat.
Yeah.
She's Bing Crosby's granddaughter.
Sorry, thank you.
It's okay. It was close enough. It's not like she was like Frank Sinatra's granddaughter.
It's not like Bing Crosby was 60 in the 1960s. He was a younger guy. But the other part too is like Gates McFadden was pushed out. She was technically fired for season 2 because, as she's publicly stated, there's a certain executive producer that wanted to date her. She said no, and then she wasn't welcome back. And once that producer was gone and they got a new writing team, they brought her back.
Who was the producer?
She has not publicly named the name.
Do you think it was the big G?
No.
Because I don't know what he was like on The Next Generation, but back in the day, Gene Roddenberry, he really
He
really
hooked up with
embraced
every
women.
woman he could on that original series, but by the time he got to the next gen, he was looking more at the women in his cast as like daughters as opposed to partners.
I don't know. I feel like a fighter always has like a final punch.
Oh my God.
Sorry,
No,
Jill.
by
Sorry,
that time, Gene was already kind of on, his health was on quite the decline, so he was more focused
I
on
apologize,
recovery.
Jill, that you had to hear me say such a thing.
Okay. You're okay. But they did bring Tasha Yar back for yesterday's Enterprise.
One of
Yes.
my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
Right. No, I'll give her that. They brought her back for good episodes. I just think it's strange that she was like thinking that she's above all of this. And today, the main thing, her main claim to fame is that she, like, anywhere you'll have her talking about her time on the show, that's become the thing. And the final thing, the reason why I even brought it up is that I feel like both her and Will Wheaton, they both have the same syndrome. Today, they want to latch on to anything related to this show. They were the two ones that like were doing the, I'm too big for the show type of situation. And in both cases, I think that they made a mistake. Star Trek is iconic. It's the type of thing that if you have a role on this show, you sit tight and you do the role. You know what I mean? Like Star Trek
that wasn't
is not
the norm at the time, though.
What'd you say?
That wasn't the norm at the time, because this first season, people had no idea how audiences would react to it.
But I will say this:
that Star Trek was your golden ticket until you got to like Deep Space Nine.
Okay, but the thing is that you saw that the original Star Trek cast, how good this was for them and what a big brand it was. I think that most people that got this role understood that this was something special, and the ones that stayed here only benefited from it. But that's just my opinion.
A point. I mean, for the original cast, it wasn't the best deal for them because they didn't get royalties after 3 episodes aired of the original series. They had to make their money on the films. So there was a lot of stigma around Hollywood. Like, if you get into a Star Trek series, you better make sure you have a great contract because you're not going to be paid that well afterwards, because this was an issue. For Denise Crosby, she never thought she was too good for the show. She was upset for the fact that she was getting opportunities and the show, compared to other television shows, was not affording her the ability to go and pursue them. Like, even on Cheers, Ted Danson was able to still make 3 Men and a Baby while doing that series. And he was the lead of Cheers, and they worked around for him. And the thing is, like, even for, John Ratzenberger, Woody Harrelson, even Rhea Perlman and Shelley Long, they all got time allowed to pursue other things while doing the show. And and that's kind of what sitcoms were doing. Like, you start a sitcom and you do a feature film, or you do a guest spot on another show or something, and you build up your resume and your career. But Star Trek, during that first season, they did not want Denise Crosby to leave. And they were essentially wasting her time, because how would you feel if you're an actor and you're being told you're going to go on set, you're not going to say any lines for all day, you're not going to have the camera on you all day, you're going to be in uniform, and you're going to be standing all day, you're not acting, you're getting paid to stand there, basically be a day player, or worse, a background extra, which is, great thing to have if you want to be an extra. But if you're an actor who's supposed to have a speaking part, whose name is in the opening title credits, which means you get paid every episode whether you're in it or not, you feel like you're being pulled, your career is being compromised, because the people who are running the show are not organized enough to realize that they don't need you on the day that they claim they need you to, and they don't want to work with you in that regard. I mean, even Patrick Stewart complained about that a few times, but he stuck it out because his agent told him, listen, the show's not going to be picked up. You'll go back to the theater, just tough it out. And who cares? And then it picked up. And
he toughed it out, and this is the best thing that ever happened to him. Well, he has the X-Men too, but this is like, I'm sure that today he's super proud of being a part of this. But in any case,
of course,
we have Nick here. Nick has joined us, the Backyard TARDIS, and we're going to continue on here. So
the ship's flying around, and then all of a sudden they get stopped by Q.
Right, they get stopped by Q. He boards. They don't know who he is. It's interesting. It's an interesting introduction, and I like the fact that this character actually has more to do in the series afterwards. It's not just a character that they introduced once. They did good things with him, and right out the gate, I like him. I like his performance.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of Q. I like it all. Like I think it's good. I like the part that he's now dressed as like the World War II army guy or whatever this is, and he's kind of telling them, "You, the human race, you're primitive. Look what you're doing." And they're kind of arguing with him, and they're like, "You're showing us a uniform from like 400 years ago."
Yeah, pretty much.
Costume, he calls it.
Right, a costume. And this was weird though that he's like, well, what about the narcotics that you gave the people or something? What is this?
So this is a byproduct of the Third World War in
Right.
Star Trek, where their soldiers were drugged up so that they would be obedient.
Interesting.
Yes, and the idea that we could say is used later for the Jem'Hadar in Deep Space Nine.
Yep.
I mean, unfortunately, I don't think that you needed to wait until World War III for that. There have been situations like that, even in I want to say more like present day or in our time, things like that have happened.
Well, the Third World War was supposed to be like a nuclear fallout war.
I see.
So it was very difficult to survive. You wouldn't just fight for the sake of fighting. You'd be given painkiller drugs to make you feel better in exchange for being a soldier and giving up your life for whatever. Because this is not the same as the eugenics war. This was something different where you had basically Puritans of like what the human race should be, and then mutants, and then a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on, and a lot of genocide type of stuff. Different types of eugenics, not breeding, but just like executions and that.
Yeah,
which happens this year, according to Star Trek, I think.
2026, yeah.
So
yay.
Yeah, and
Boy.
it really shows at the time, they were worried about the opium crisis and nuclear war. Like these were hot topics in the 80s.
Nuclear war, Contra, the whole thing. Yeah.
Did he already freeze Torres? I don't even.
Yes, he did.
Right here.
I know I haven't watched. Okay, I've seen every Star Trek, but I haven't seen every Star Trek a million times. I'm trying to think to myself. Torres isn't a guy that I remember seeing a ton of. Was he in other episodes? I can.
Nope. I think this is it. He came and went.
Right.
He stayed in sick bay for the rest of the series.
Yeah, like some like to think that he was B'Elanna's uncle who died in Starfleet.
Ships rotate crew members, so he just got left at a starbase somewhere and got reassigned.
I wonder if they ever intended to do more with this character, or he was just the classic red shirt type of thing where he got the freeze and they sent him to sick bay and that was it.
Yeah, it's just basically the irony of Q judging us and then freezing us whenever he wants just to shut us up.
So Q here, he doesn't he leaves, right? And then at this point, once he leaves, they have this kind of, I don't know how to call it. What do you call this thing that looks like a net? What is it?
Alien net, yeah.
So
I thought it was weird to try to outrun it.
That was weird that he's like, oh, do warp this, do warp that. Like, we'll outrun the thing. And then, I don't know. I mean, like, it seemed like you wouldn't be able, I agree with you. It seemed like you wouldn't be able to outrun it. But it still at least was a bit of a dramatic moment. The one thing I'll say is that a show like this, and we all know what Star Trek is, and we all know what Star Trek The Next Generation is. And imagine people that watched this episode, they didn't know what Star Trek The Next Generation was. They're being introduced to these characters for the first time. And when you've never seen them before, you really have to do a lot of, and maybe Script could weigh in on that. You really have to weigh in. You really have to make these characters likable when it comes to the writing. Meaning, first of all, you want to choose a cast that people like, but you also have to set things up in a way that you're sort of connecting with these characters, because isn't that kind of a challenge when you're doing a first show with this kind of world building, that if you don't buy these characters or this world, then it doesn't work?
Sure.
Yeah, because you watch TV for the characters.
Right. I have a table runner, same as what Worf is wearing there.
Well, and speaking of character development, Worf already gets the best lines, and now personal requests are permission to clean up the bridge.
I also, is this the part that he tells him, I'm a Klingon. I'm not going to leave my cabin. Oh, no, that's with the saucer. They need to separate from the saucer.
Yeah.
Right. He says, you're a Starfleet officer.
but
which
that's
is right
happening.
there.
Is that
Yeah,
happening
they're
now?
about to separate. So
Yeah.
he's been put in charge
Of the saucer
because at this
section.
point Tasa Yar outranks him. So she's going to go be the one that's going to have that post on the battle bridge. And he's kind of offended, like, oh, we're going to have battle. I'm a Klingon. I want to be there. And he's being ordered to stay.
Yep. I do like the fact that, and I know later they changed this, they stopped this, but I didn't mind that Deanna Troi wasn't wearing like the more onesie pantsuit that she wore later.
I like
wearing
that.
a dress. That is something that this episode has going for it.
I like her in this dress. Jill, is that a bad? Did
Me
I say
too.
a bad thing again?
No, you didn't. Not at all. I love the scant hair. I wish she wore it more than the prom dress she wears all the time.
Yeah.
This to me is, it calls back to the 60s series more. This is a uniform. What she wears elsewhere is not, it's like her counselor outfit, but she's still a member of Starfleet. And that's always been something kind of weird that, she's a member of Starfleet, but she's not wearing a Starfleet uniform. She's
This
wearing
is her
her counselor
Until
outfit.
until Jellicoe comes around.
Yes.
Then it changes it all.
I hated him, but I loved him too at the same time. It's like, oh,
Yep.
yeah.
I feel like also in this episode, and maybe Ro, you can say something about that. The angles are a little different than what I'm used to. There's a lot of like,
Yeah, we saw that in the pilot of Star Trek. They were playing around with camera angles because they didn't know, which way, or they were kind of experimenting which angles to shoot. They had in the original series they'd had that almost like straight down shot when the characters were going into the elevator. So a lot of different style of shots here, especially with the battle bridge, because it's we don't see it that often through the series, but we're seeing it here. So
I kind of dig it. Kind of like the idea of the saucer separating from the battle bridge. I liked all of this.
We really only see it this and with the Borg, right? I'm trying to think of a third time they've.
Yeah, they don't do it often.
Chief O'Brien is here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is interesting that they have him in a red shirt. Oh, sorry, Jill.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Arsenal of Freedom, they did.
What'd you say?
Okay. Another
episode. Yeah.
What's interesting is that Chief O'Brien right now, he's in the red shirt. And what they make canon later in Deep Space Nine is that before he was, the transporter chief on the Enterprise, he was a Starfleet soldier on the front line with the Cardassians. So
against the Cardassians.
So it makes sense that he was in that role.
I was always surprised that they didn't make him like a main cast member, at least not here. I'm trying to think if even on Deep Space Nine, does he appear in the credits? I feel like they never like putting him in any credits.
I think
No. He's front and center on Deep Space Nine.
Space Nine, yeah.
All right, so Deep Space Nine, his name is in the credit, but here on this one, he's not.
Give
He's
him
like
his credit there.
What did you say?
The credit there in Deep Space Nine, but here we don't even know his name, so we don't even find out he's Miles O'Brien until later.
Yeah, probably not until the whole thing with Keiko giving birth.
Oh, Keiko.
Well, that's why this episode. Here's something that I was thinking about. When people think of the first season of The Next Generation, a lot of times they're like, "Well, it wasn't so good. It wasn't this. It wasn't that." But I will say that once the other seasons came along, and you like the show and you like the characters, even going back and watching an episode like this, which may not be perfect, you already have that fondness towards the characters, which at the time you weren't familiar with. Now you feel more of a bond with them. So even if it's like sort of just an okay or even a semi-mediocre episode, I still enjoy watching it because I like the cast and I like the characters. If that makes sense.
Sure.
And see, Price, that's what I tell you about Voyager. Like Voyager, it's not really until season 4 that it hits its stride, just kind of like TNG. But when you go back after you like all those characters and watch those early episodes, they're much more tolerable than they are on the initial watch.
Well, you told me once you'll make me a list just for
Yeah.
people listening. I've seen every episode of the original series, most of it years ago, because growing up, I see them in syndication. The Next Generation, I saw some of them, growing up, but then only later I did a proper viewing of all the episodes. Enterprise, I actually only saw it maybe in the past 5 years. I finally got around to watching, all of Enterprise, and I ended up enjoying it. Deep Space Nine was something that I only watched partially, and again, in probably 5-6 years, I ended up sitting and watching like the whole thing. I tried doing Voyager, but I got like through one season, and that was it. I just felt like I don't know. None of the characters spoke to me. I didn't until now. I can't even. I know the characters that are there, but there's not one that I feel like a connection to. I didn't feel anything watching those characters. I know that's terrible. Again, sorry, Jill.
No, that's quite all right. You don't like everything, and that's okay. It's you're.
I
it's
like
a
almost
opinion.
everything. I've
Yeah.
seen like every motion picture, every whatever, and aside like the original cast, aside from like that fifth one, I thought that I enjoyed all those movies, and the Next Generation movies, they were okay, I guess. But in any case, I've seen all of it, and I like all of it, and somehow the only kind of thorn in my side is Voyager.
Wait, this isn't the all Star Trek is good crowd?
Well, well,
almost all.
you didn't make it to the 7 of 9 seasons, I suppose.
I like
No,
how
he
7 of
would-
9
the
looks.
first season.
I think she looks nice.
Yeah, I think you would enjoy those, Price.
Maybe
For
I have
reasons.
to find a way to watch it, and I'm still. I hope I didn't upset Jill before that I said that Gene Roddenberry like to embrace women.
No, he was a humanist, and so yes, he did love humanity, and you don't you do not upset me with that. He did.
I think
I
Price is
mean,
also a humanist.
To be fair, I know he was a very progressive guy and everything, but when it came to the ladies, I felt like he wasn't as progressive when it came to the ladies.
Well, so there's a difference between what's the two terms? There's sexist, where you demean women, you think down upon women, that they're lesser, but that's different than being a womanizer.
Oh, okay.
He was a womanizer, but he wasn't a sexist. There's a difference between that. He really liked to be a player and to have his way with the women, but like he didn't hold women back from having jobs, or he was a promotion of that.
Like I said, he embraced them.
That's why he was finally honest with Nichelle Nichols that he was also dating Majel Barrett, and Nichelle was like, "Wait a second, I don't want to be the other woman to the other woman," so she broke up with him.
He was like a Renaissance man or something. He'd like to multitask. They arrive here on this planet or this place, and Q is here as the judge. I've always liked this scene. How Q arrives.
Yeah, I love his outfits. I love the way that he's presented on that throne that moves around on a crane. It's just so shocking,
Well, it's not a Q imagery. This is all Earth of the 21st century.
Yeah.
And what breaks my heart is that some people, especially those who still work in Star Trek, dress Q up this way in their books and stuff, thinking that this is the uniform of the Q, and it's not. It's the magistrate of Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Let's see for a second now. So
there are certain little tidbits in this scene, and I don't know if it happens later, but when I think it happens afterwards, but when Picard turns around in rage and tells Q off, basically, and he's talking about the goodness of humanity, there's one simple shot of Q turning away from the camera. There it is. And he just yawns like he's bored. I love that.
Yeah.
It sets so much about that character.
I agree with you.
Well, they developed that later, that when they have the episode, is that in TNG or is that in Voyager where the Q wants to commit suit?
That's Voyager.
That's Voyager.
I cut myself this time.
What did you think of the effect here, Ro?
That's fine. Simple dissolve from one sequence to
good.
another. Yeah, looks good.
Yeah, Tasha Yar lost her mind, so yeah, he froze her. She said,
I-
"You got to get down on your
I see a little
knees."
bit. Yeah, I see a little bit of morphing action, and the morph plugin was real hot in the late '80s, early '90s.
Was there already in the late 80s? Did they have the morphing capabilities?
Yeah, because I
Yes.
think
It wasn't
thought
very,
it was
I mean,
only
it
in,
was
like,
great for the
90.
time, but by today's standards, it's horrible.
yeah, right. I remember buying the morph software. It cost me like $3,000 at the time,
Wow,
and I used it once because I was just so fed up with it.
that's so weird that you spent $3,000 on the plugin and only used it once.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you, Ro. I mean, I bought weird things before, I admit, but somehow
Well, I mean, I started my production company in the early '90s, so it was useful for that one time.
I see. I get it. In any case, so they're here and they're arguing, and he's saying, remind me what give me some of the dialogue here, because
Okay, Picard tells him, "We humans know our past, even when we're ashamed of it. I recognize this court system as the one that agreed with that line from Shakespeare, 'Kill all the lawyers.'" That's one thing that Picard says
Mhm.
Right,
from
and-
King Henry the Sixth. So that's the beginning of using Shakespeare in The Next Generation.
You know, this shot of Picard always bothered me because there's a weird haloing effect in the top left-hand corner, and I thought it was just my stream, but I guess it's the way it is.
yeah, it's strange. There's some weird angles here, but
Yeah.
I don't dislike that. I don't dislike what they do here.
They
He ends up.
reveal that Data can do other people's voices.
Yeah.
It's only used a couple of times through the show.
But you have a situation where he sends them back to Earth, correct? Not
Well,
to Earth,
this-
sorry. He sends them back to their ship.
Yeah,
I'm
they're.
sorry.
This is all an illusion. Like they're on Earth. They're not on another planet.
Right,
They're
no,
on
that's what I
Earth,
meant.
and
They're on
for
Earth and he
surgery,
sends them
then
back to
they
the
bring them
ship.
back to the ship. Yeah.
What
Well-
causes him to do that? I'm trying to
So
remember.
They're
Picard
setting up a
is-
test. Picard convinces him to test
Judge them as
humanity.
they are now.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and
and he's not
for their
even
past. Yes.
trying to convince him for, he's like, judge us as we are now. This, and as he's saying it, like Q's picking up, and Chris, what a wonderful idea. Oh, a test. Yes, we get, and so he's giving a long speech, and Q is picking out like one word out of each sentence Picard says and is formulating how he's going to judge him. And so it's kind of interesting, and when they're reading the charges and stuff, and he puts the guns to their heads and says, if you don't read the confession, and so he reads it and then immediately kind of gives a but at the end of it,
Like
that
a provision because I'm guilty provisionally.
yeah. And Q's excited by him trying to outsmart Q.
Right.
Yeah. In any case, we're
I like that the whole time this is going on, O'Brien has just been sitting at his post.
Yeah. Well, it's
You guys are back.
It's a missing time situation. I felt like for O'Brien, they've been here all the time.
He's just bored.
Maybe.
He
Because
doesn't
nobody's assumed the captain's chair, so you would have to assume that time didn't pass for them.
Right.
right. Oh well.
Yeah, so that's how they tie the two storylines together, is that Farpoint Station is going to be the test so that Q can determine how far humanity has come since their barbaric past, as he puts it.
And here we're introduced to Riker without the beard. It's funny though that like he seems so different with and without the beard. I feel like here they were trying to go for like a Captain Kirk type of vibe. But,
Yes.
Yeah.
But once he has the beard, he has kind of his own identity. And really the beard adds so much to his character. I don't know how many times in the history of shows or whatever it is, somebody having a beard could be so significant for the character. The only other occasion that I can think of, and this is going to make you laugh probably, is the father on Family Ties. If you remember the father on Family Ties for the first like season or something, he was clean cut shaven, and it was really weird. Then like season 2, he's with a beard, and you're like, okay, he's the father now.
Yeah.
So he arrives
So
here.
we're
I
on
also-
Farpoint now.
What'd you say?
We're on Farpoint Station now, and there was a
Right.
nice map painting of the planet, which I always love map paintings.
And then there was something that like it wasn't there, but he thought of it and suddenly it was there.
The
like
apples.
the apple.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's like, would you like an earth delicacy? Oh, I'll take an apple. Oh, there's no apples. Wait, there is an apple.
Yes, the first mystery
Magic.
of this Farpoint station.
Yes.
Here they introduce us to Beverly and Will Wheaton and Wesley, and then this is the part where she thinks of something and also it suddenly appears. Like she
Right.
thinks he's weird
Yes,
by
the
saying it,
pattern.
but then suddenly the same thing happens to her. And they also kind of talk about like how she knew him and how the son, he came to deliver his father's body or all this other stuff.
Right.
I don't know. Interesting, a little bit of exposition, but I thought that it was done pretty decently.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
obviously that sets up the relationship between Picard and Crusher and how complicated it is in the future, because they, obviously they start to have feelings for each other later in the series.
I like how
Yes, before
here
her age is retconned to be on par with Picard because she is supposed to be 28 years younger than Picard. And then they changed that to like 8 years younger in the Picard series.
that is
Well,
so
and-
weird.
Well, there is a thing where they come to find out that before Picard's best friend, which is Wesley's dad, went for her, that Picard was interested in her,
Mhm.
and then his best friend married her, and so he stepped aside. But then he also had him serving under his command, and he died, and so that they
Yeah,
really
that's Jack.
they really go through that and build it, but they're setting the threads for that here. They're setting the threads for everything between Riker and Diana, and but
I
it feel a little weird.
Yeah,
in this
and I do
first
right, and I do feel like Nick says, I do feel like this episode does a really good job of setting the threads for everyone, most of the characters, especially the main ones, between the what their relationships are going to end up being, or what their characters, I guess, are starting on. So it does a good job of that.
Even Geordi having the headaches, and
right.
Data is saying that he wants to understand humans. That a lot of that set up.
I want to just highlight here, Ron Donofero says, yes, interesting how Red Shirt Jinx did not carry into TNG. That's true.
That's
And
because the color schemes are different, because yellow is now security or gold.
Right, but people have done the math. More people throughout Star Trek TOS and yellow shirts die than red shirts.
Interesting. What I did like
And
about
the guy
this,
behind Geordi here, he's a man wearing a skirt uniform.
Essentially, if you're on the original Enterprise ship, you don't need to worry if you have a red shirt unless you're going on to the planet. Down.
well,
down to
I
the-
did want to say one thing that I liked here that I really, really liked was that, what did you say? Somebody wearing a skirt? I don't see a skirt.
No, go back like half a second. No, that's more than half a second, buddy.
It's really hard to get it.
Yes.
Which one?
So hold on, go back a little. You'll
I
see a
just-
man with a t-shirt, a black t-shirt. In the middle of that is gold. That is him wearing like a toga uniform with no pants. It's a skirt.
Later on with the saucer separation, when
That
people
guy.
are going
Oh,
to
you
and
just-
fro, there's a guy wearing a Starfleet uniform. with a
Yeah, that
skirt.
happened
You-
already. That
Yeah.
happened
Just
already.
had it and
Yeah.
you completely skipped over.
Was he in the
Yeah, it
dress
was there
uniform?
too. Yeah.
No, it's way too far back. It's the same uniform that Diana was
I
wearing.
thought maybe he just like he was in the shower or something, or
No.
Well,
this guy.
because Picard,
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, you got him.
Dress uniform
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of.
Why is he wearing a dress? Really?
Because
not
at that
it's
point,
not
nobody
addressed.
cares.
Yeah, nobody
No, but-
cares. It's scant.
But don't you see that there's like a
It's a
short?
scant. Yeah.
There's
It's a
like shorts
scant.
under this thing.
It's
Well,
I
you
think
think
there's
that, but not
shorts.
really. It's
Yeah.
just a ripple.
I don't
Just
know.
thought it was comfortable.
Yeah.
But I do feel like when I first saw it, I do feel like, oh, it's in the future. He's wearing a dress and nobody cares.
Yes, pretty much. That's exactly it.
Well, in any case, let's put it this way. I don't know what they intended or what they were doing, but it wasn't obnoxious like the kind of stuff they do today, so I don't really care.
They didn't bring
I-
attention to it. Yes.
Right. Today,
We
like
do.
everything they do is super obnoxious, and that's what I don't like. I also one of the reasons I like this scene is that Jordy comes to talk to Riker, and initially when he talks to him, like Riker kind of is like, "Oh, is this an official report?" Something like that, and suddenly Jordy corrects himself because he's like, talking to a superior officer,
Sorry,
and like it's
Commander.
important the way he presents himself and does like the right,
Addressing right.
yeah, professional. Now, why do I like this? Because if you watch anything from like new Star Trek, any new Star Trek, they don't understand this concept at all. They don't understand the idea that there's a hierarchy and there's a guy and that he's in command and there's another guy and there's certain things that need to happen. They have no concept of that. They don't care. They don't bother like showing it ever. That's why it's really hard for me to take seriously anything from these new Star Trek shows, because if you don't believe that there's a ship with real officers and like hierarchy, then it's not worth anything.
They don't
Yeah.
have any procedure, any military procedure at all in New Trek.
And as
True.
Star Trek goes on, like Geordi has a familiarity, all the bridge crew does, but Riker here, he's the new first officer, so he
Right.
is setting the groundwork, setting his
Expectations
tone
is
of
professional.
command and-
Right.
yeah.
Well, actually, Jordy hasn't been on the Enterprise either. Nobody has. This is its very first voyage. They're picking up
Right.
the crew from other ships at Farpoint Station.
Some with dresses, some without.
That's right. Like Jordy came in on one ship. I think Riker came in on the Republic or another ship. Beverly Crush and her son came in on a different ship. Like they haven't been on the Enterprise yet. So there's no reason for them to be familiarity. He's just looking at it as like, oh, I'm not on duty, so I'm going to talk to Riker as if I'm not on duty because we're in a mall on a station. We haven't been
Right.
officially welcomed aboard to the ship as part of the crew. So, but Riker's saying like, well, no, like, we still have to exercise some decorum. Just
I
because
love
we're not-
how official they are. That he,
Especially because it's an official report from the ship, so it does make
Right.
some sense.
Picard does
I
the
missed
same
this.
thing here. He doesn't immediately start talking to Riker. He's like, okay, go send him over there, get him up to speed. Then he invites him into the reading room. Then he tells him go dock the saucer section.
right.
Manually. And but I love here where he has to watch the first part of the episode that he missed.
Yeah, that's kind of
Right.
that's silly to me.
Because he's like, he
here,
said,
sit
we
here.
had a bit of an adventure, and then he
Here's
sees
here's
this
a
thing.
remote. Fast forward to the commercials. Here you go.
So yeah, so basically he's like, oh, we had a little adventure, and then like he looks at this whole thing and he's like, this is much more than a little adventure.
One thing that always bothered me, and they did this in TOS, especially during the menagerie, is when they were watching things play back from the television camera's perspective versus maybe the security camera perspective on the bridge. It always bugged me.
They did that here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's their thing. They have to show you what you've already seen.
Well, the other thing though is, and we'll see this in TNG, the computer keeps a 3-dimensional scan. So that's the better angle. So that's how the computer is going to show it, because he could go into the holodeck and it could recreate all of this in 3D.
Yep.
I have a question maybe for Jill. I noticed that there was one time when later on when Riker looks for Data and asks a crew member where Data might be. He was on the holodeck, and then you hear the computer voice. Was that Majel Barrett? Because it didn't sound like her at first.
Computer should be Majel Barrett. I don't remember. I didn't watch it
Yeah.
today. So
Yeah, I watched
I
it
need to
last night.
re-listen to it.
Yeah, and it was a little jarring because I'm like, that's not her. maybe at this point they didn't decide to put her in as the computer voice for the show.
Maybe she
Well,
was.
it wasn't Colbert, so. I know that.
Maybe she was already older at this point. Maybe her voice changed. In any case,
Oh no, she's definitely the
She's the
computer
computer in
most of
the
the
show.
time.
She just was. Had they figured that out in this first episode? I don't know. It's also like one of the things that kind of is retcon later is that like, and there's another episode in the first season that kind of gets retcon with Minuet, but Riker comes in there and he acts like he's never seen a holodeck before, and he's asking for explanations. But later on, they kind of discuss that like this technology is not brand new. It's presented as brand new here, but then they kind of, some of them talk about holodeck experiences from when they were young later on in the show.
Yeah, and that's done for the audience, I'm assuming, because Data picks up a rock and says, "Oh, look, we're at the edge of the wall," and he throws the rock at the wall, and you see the fluttering.
Mhm.
And Riker's like, "Ooh, ah."
This scene I thought was kind of interesting because it kind of doesn't feel 100% the way Jean-Luc Picard seems to me later. That he's like, "Oh, I'm an ass, and I'm not good as a father figure.
I don't like children.
I don't like children. You can help me." Like later, he seems like kinder. I don't know. I feel like they made.
That's a running theme. They've had multiple episodes where he does poorly with children.
Yeah, well, he's bad with children until he gets trapped in the turbo lift with them, and they sing French songs.
Yeah, and there's like,
I looked up to see about the computer voice, and there's nothing in IMDb, and apparently she missed a few of the early episodes. So it's a mystery who is the computer in this episode.
Interesting.
So good job spotting that. If anybody knows.
Maybe it was Gene Roddenberry's executive assistant.
Yeah. Here's a question for you.
That was kind of a deep cut joke, right?
Oh, Susan Sackett, is she working on TNG yet?
I have no idea, but I'm just saying, he likes to involve the ladies in his life and give them roles and stuff. Am I wrong? True. Am I wrong that he had a how do I explain this?
Well, his girlfriend on this show was Susan Sackett, but of course he was married to Majel.
Okay. Let me put it this way: Did Gene Roddenberry embrace his executive assistant?
I don't know why you feel like
up until the 80s he did. Yeah, he kind of stopped in the 80s when his health was declining. I don't know how many times I got to repeat this to you guys.
I see. What did you say, Nick? What were you asking?
I don't feel why you're so worried about being open about it. Like this is pretty public knowledge.
Yeah.
About him.
All right. In any case, Geordi is here. I thought this was cool. You see him without the visor. He says that he's like blind and all that stuff. I always like this. It's cool. They probably just put like some white lenses on him. They look great. Mm-hmm. Even those little red LED lights. I love it. It's great.
And then the hair barrette.
This is like, it seems so simple and silly, but you know what? I like Geordi LaForge and I like whatever this visor is. I've always liked it. What can I do?
Well, it is character development to know that he's in some pain from the visor, but he doesn't want to get it cured because that'll decrease his visual acuity.
Mm-hmm. And this is the weird part where Riker comes in and says, "Where is everybody? Where's Data?" I go, "Oh, Data is accompanying an admiral back down to the planet." What admiral?
Right.
McCoy.
This is the weirdest cameo on the face of the earth. Like I felt like this was they had to like get Data and have him walk with McCoy, and I feel like they filmed it on a different day than anything else. Like it feels almost detached from whatever's going on here to me.
Still my favorite moment of the episode, though.
I know. I think that's why they did it. I think it's, And
it started the tradition. Because there's a baton handing off in every show. Picard does it next. And then you have Quark does it for Voyager.
That's true. Yeah, he tries to swindle Harry Kim.
Yep.
Wait, but in Voyager, there is no handing of the baton.
No, Quark. Quark is there
Yes.
They
Sorry,
make
there
a
is.
stop
Very
at Deep.
clean.
They make a stop at Deep Space Nine. That's what
Oh,
happens.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Sorry, but Voyager
then,
really is the one I'm.
Tom stops him, and that's then what gives Tom the permission to basically bully Harry into being his best friend.
Well, they
Yeah, but
couldn't
that's
do
what
it
Bashir
with.
did to O'Brien. So
They couldn't
Yeah.
do it with Enterprise. I know that.
I'm going to put up a message up here because something we talked about, and we're already at the 1 hour mark.
Okay.
From
I love this
Lisa.
cameo. Shut up. I agree.
No,
I
yeah,
agree
yeah,
with you.
yeah. So I don't know if you wanted to keep going or do we stop and
Okay, we have one out of two options. We can start going lightning round, or we could just have a discussion. I'm okay if you want to continue the second half next week. I don't have an issue with that. We got through half the episode. There's a lot to talk about just beyond what we're looking at because it's this first episode of such an iconic show. So there's certainly for a lot for us to discuss. It's up to you. Should I do a vote?
yeah, we can do a vote.
Okay,
Well,
I'm
you
doing a
got to
vote.
treat your live stream like a lady, and she'll always bring you home.
Exactly.
I gotta be the Gene Roddenberry of the live.
Yes, embrace your chat.
Finally,
So much-
Ro,
So
Ro
many
understands-
metaphors.
Finally, Ro understands my humor.
And it
Jill
only
is, like,
took 6
cringing,
years.
like she's probably like, "Will this guy shut up already?"
I think we've always understood your humor, Price.
I just feel bad because you guys already know it, and Jill probably is thinking like bad things. But what can I do? Sorry, Jill.
No bad things here. You're a gentleman, and you're really sweet.
Okay, so let's see.
You really don't know Price yet, huh?
I guess not.
Speed through.
Sorry, Caleb.
Part 2.
Just don't try to kick Price out of a sushi bar.
What should I not do?
Never mind, Price. We don't need to go down that.
And I can't
Where-
believe Nick said that.
What did you say? That it's not good to kick me out of a sushi bar?
Yes.
That was Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
I can't believe you remembered.
You've told the story like 4 times during Quantum Leap.
yeah,
Sorry,
many times.
I'll never tell it again. Although it was a good story. What can I? It's true too.
Oh, you got to give descriptions. When they click yes, what does that mean?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You did a poll and everybody voted, and then you went the wrong way.
So Tex wants me to have you delete that one and then rephrase it.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Man, you worded that just like the Quebec referendum in '95.
Like, what?
It was like, Jill, when we were at the end of Quantum Leap, we ranked the episodes and we'd have the chat vote on them. And there were some times where it was unclear whether people were voting that it was the better one or the least liked one. And so people would vote, and then Price would put it in the tier, and everybody would be upset.
No. Yeah, raising your poll is very important.
Okay. Tex, I got it.
There you go.
The thing is, Nick kind of threw me off my game with the sushi and Taylor Swift, so I messed up the poll. But now I think it's good. Let's see what happens.
You need to make a little skit about that, and then you need to bring it back to Star Trek though, and Taylor Swift like you're yelling Khan.
I wasn't impressed with her.
So while everybody's waiting on that, just
She
kinda
keeps
talking.
missing the target.
When
She keeps missing
we
the target.
started out this episode because I missed the beginning. You guys have talked about kind of the weird camera angles. Picard coming out of the black there in the shadows, half in the shadows to start the thing out, was a real weird choice for the beginning of this. It felt very different, and very different from the rest of TNG. And I will note that and I know it's just this episode, but this bridge is very dimly lit. And that's a big contention for a lot of people who didn't like Picard season 3. Was that
Picard
the
season
bridge
3
wasn't-
was even darker.
right? But I mean, but that was like a thing that like people, the people who didn't like that was one of their really big nitpicks, and I noticed that they based it more off the movies than they did, which I know is the E,
Exactly.
but it was going more for that more cinematic look.
I think all of Picard season 3 is just based off the movies because Terry Matalas was a big movie fan, but not necessarily. He was not extremely knowledgeable of the show, and so when he introduced show elements, he often gets things wrong, like saying that all the changelings live in buckets like Odo, when that was just because Odo didn't know about
Didn't have
being a
anything else to
changeling
go.
yet.
Right.
Well, Terry Matalas got to start working on Voyager, like he was assistant on Voyager. But
Mhm.
he missed
Yeah,
a
but
really
he
big
didn't
opportunity
really-
with season 3 because instead of bringing the Borg in, like he did, he could have brought Denise Crosby back as Sela and tied up the whole Romulan thing from the first season and made it nice into a nice little button bow. And then you have everybody from the original cast in the series as a send-off. Missed opportunity.
Mhm.
Okay, the result of the poll. I didn't think it would be this close. Let's see. I mean, it's not extremely
It's not-
close, but it's
it's not-
closer than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Which I can't see it. Which way is it leaning?
Part 2 next week.
Well, 62% of the people said part 2 next week and 38% part 2 today. But, I kind of thought everybody would be like 90% next week.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the thing is that I don't think we can give the respect that it needs to get, the part 2, if we rush through it in that way. I think that, we can talk about this episode. We talk about what we think about what we've seen until now. And we'll complete it all next week. So I guess each one of you can kind of talk about it based on what we've seen until now. What did you think about this pilot episode, Ro?
I liked it. It worked. As I mentioned, I think all the characters kind of have an opportunity to set some things up that we will, find important in later episodes and later seasons. With any pilot type show, there's a little finagling with characters and plot points and stuff like that. But I think this show does a good job of kind of establishing some of the broad strokes, the bigger elements of the series going forward. And I don't know how they would have started this without Q. Q seems to be a very important and huge part of this series moving forward. And the way they ended the series, for sure, bringing Q back and telling Picard what he told Picard, no spoilers if you haven't seen it, but I think it's a great introduction to a wonderful character. John Delancey is an amazing actor. I think he does super well, and I enjoy a lot of aspects of this pilot.
What's something that's interesting about him is that and this show stressed him out quite a bit because he's dyslexic and he has trouble, and Star Trek's so big on, you change a single word, and he's one of the few people that was allowed to ad lib it all on this show. But his performance always comes through.
Totally. Lisa Katrine, we were so happy to see you here today. It would be great if you showed up next week.
Yeah.
Spoilers for a 30-year-old finale. Yeah. I did like the way that I think that they handled the finale well. So well that really you could argue that they didn't need the Next Generation movies. I still enjoy those movies. I know, maybe they're not the best, but I don't hate them.
Yeah, Hollywood gets in the way there for some of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They try to make Picard more of an action guy or whatever they're looking for. It's
Well,
a bit weird.
And that's a lot of that was Patrick Stewart.
Yes.
Just like with the TOS, the moment they hit the movies, these actors now have a form of power because they're the ones in the show. They can't make the movies without them, or the fans will be upset. So they start making their demands.
Yeah, exactly. Patrick Stewart loved to drive, and so they put he wanted the dune buggies, and that's how we get that in Nemesis.
And even in First
got lots
Contact,
of favorites.
like, originally, or even in Generations, like Generations, he was supposed to be on the ship, and Riker was supposed to be down on the. They did a number of things where Patrick Stewart wanted to be the action star. He wanted to be out there fighting the Borg, and really kind of changed what his character was from the show.
I think that the posters also had like him, Picard, and Riker. Data, Picard, and Riker. Am I wrong? I vaguely remember that when you look at the posters, those are like the three main faces you see, or am I wrong?
For which?
For the movies, for the Next Generation movies, I feel like you see Picard, Riker, and Data. No, what do the Next Generation posters?
Anyone that has Riker on it, is going to have most of the crew on it. There is one that's like Picard and Data, but there's like Riker is like a lot of times there's one that has like all the crew, and they go kind of like in order of importance and get smaller.
Oh, the Insurrection poster has
along the
Riker.
combat zone.
I'm trying to see for a second. Okay. If you go here, let me share this tab. Or this isn't the real one. This is like a collection, I guess. Maybe that's what I remembered. I was thinking of the collections. But I feel like when they try to sell this to people, that's the trio they like to put on a poster when it comes to selling, at least today. I don't know maybe what the posters look like then, but it kind of, maybe are these considered like the fan favorites?
I mean, yeah, I would think so. When you think of when they're parodying the show, it's always Data, the Ball, Picard, Geordi, and Worf, because those are the ones that are most recognizable to somebody who's not a Star Trek fan.
I think that Worf is like the biggest star out of all of these things. Like Worf is he's in Deep Space Nine.
Now, I think that like later TNG and then Deep Space Nine really improves Worf's character, but here in the initial like first couple of seasons, Worf is there to make the bad guys look dangerous. Just like in this, he immediately jumps out at Q.
Yeah.
And gets put in his plate. Like he's always the guy that jumps out and immediately gets knocked down.
Well, you're probably right, but I still think that
also for his quippy one-liners. That's also what he's for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to show you this. I don't know why I'm showing you this. Who cares? But I'm going to show you because I'm nitpicky and I'm going to show it to you. Okay, so this one, First Contact, you see Picard, you see Data, you don't even see Riker on it.
That's what I was going to say. When you were saying Riker, I'm like, he's not on most of the movie posters.
Yeah, there's no McCoy with the McCoy equivalent with the Next Generation. It's Picard and Data, which is like Kirk and Spock.
So basically, like Data is really like very running strong here. You know what I mean? It feels like they put on the poster what they think will be the easiest to market. I guess like, Data.
Well, and obviously the character has something to do with why he's on there facing the Borg Queen.
True.
Yeah.
Still,
not only that, like Data was one of the most popular characters on Star Trek, just like Spock was the most popular character on Star Trek.
Spock is my favorite Star Trek character, and Data is my favorite Next Generation character. So
there you go.
Because they're relatively the same archetype. They're just inverted. Spock is, balancing his emotions, and Data is striving for them.
And I would say,
and they finally do get to meet, which is fun. So
the Doctor plays that role on Voyager. Odo was kind of that character on Deep Space Nine, but I feel like Deep Space Nine's cast was much more balanced. And so there's not as much of a one character stands out. Odo plays that role of the kind of the outsider in, but you have some between, Quark and Garrick, and you have a lot of characters that are kind of the outsider.
So this one is
Yep.
this one is
Nemesis.
also
So if you pull up the only one I think that's going to have Riker on it is going to be Insurrection.
that
But
one. I
yes.
think doesn't have anybody on it.
There's a poster. One of the things for Insurrection has like the Star Trek symbol, and down the thing it has all the crew.
Let me see if I can find it. This is what apparently the poster looks like for Insurrection. I'm going to share it right now. We're being very nitpicky today. Okay. This is the poster. There's nobody on it. I'm actually surprised
Yeah.
that this would be their poster.
That is, I believe, the original VHS. Because I remember that, like, I had a DVD collection of the different ones, and it's like silver with the comm badge, and it has along the edge of all the different main cast members.
Okay, I'm going to look for it right now. I think that for the most part, though, this seems to be the most popular poster. There's another one here. Let's see what this one looks like. There's one, I think, with, if this is the one you're speaking of, it again has Picard and Data. I feel like they sidelined Riker completely.
Yes, because he's the director. He didn't want to be on the cover.
I see. Well, in any case, I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know. I think that there was better movies to make with the cast of The Next Generation. I don't hate the movies, but I think that they could have been better.
Oh yeah, the movies were not as good as they should have been. First Contact had a great premise of sorts, and also, I mean, had a really fantastic ending with the Vulcans landing, but it just didn't feel Star Trek-y, and there's a lot of issues with it.
It felt in tone with the TOS movies.
I wouldn't say that so far.
Which one was a theatrical poster, Professor?
I would say I felt like it was Star Trek when you were on the planet and you're getting ready to go embark on the adventure of the very first warp drive ship, the Phoenix. That's the most, and there's some fun stuff. First Contact is definitely the best of the movies,
Yeah.
but I think it's also right to say that All Good Things could have been the best TNG movie if it were a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, just
totally
the
agree.
ending. It's just a really fitting ending to the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at like Picard season 3. I treat it as like a TNG movie, and as that, I think it's decent. Sure, there were a ton of different ways they could have gone with it, and as a Star Trek show, any of these streaming series that aren't doing the adventure of the week, I feel like they're missing the whole what the soul of Star Trek is. Trying to do a continuous story.
Well, I remember
Didn't
that
really like it.
I
Didn't really
think-
like Picard season 3, but that's good that you did.
I can
It was just. Yeah.
I can see both sides of it. I think that when I watched it, there were some episodes that felt filler. There was also something that I remember that Terry Metalis did something that he talked on some channel or some YouTube channel or something, and there were a few very interesting things that he said. And he was being honest, actually more honest than a lot of these Hollywood people are. And he said something along the lines that because it's a streaming show, he was pushed to create something that there's like sort of a, I don't know if a cliffhanger every time, and to create these arcs and relationships. And like he was explaining like sort of the things that he was being encouraged to put into the show, and like things that are expected of him because it's a streaming show. Like there's certain things that are expected of him. And I thought that he was kind of honest in a way that a lot of people aren't honest. And between the lines, it seems like he was saying that maybe it wouldn't have been his preference, his own personal preference to do it, but he had to do it. The same way that he also, and he very elegantly danced around it, but I also understood between the lines is that it's not necessarily that he thought it was great that they made Picard a robot or a few other things, but they told him that he couldn't pretend it didn't happen. He couldn't go back to like seasons 1 and 2 of their Picard and pretend it didn't happen. So he does the best under the with the directives he was given. He tries to work in that space as best he could. Maybe it's not perfect, and I'm not saying that every moment of it was great. There were some things about it that I liked, and I always say this, that the part that they're on the bridge at the end on the Enterprise D and there's the music and the whole cast is there, that was a moment that I can't say that I didn't enjoy seeing. It was that thing that Star Wars never gave us, and at least with Star Trek The Next Generation, we got that moment. So I can't...
And I think that's what everybody was asking for.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, but the circumstances too, how they get there doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Geordi did it all by himself, and nobody noticed that it was happening on the space station.
You gotta suspend a lot of disbelief here. I agree with you, and it's almost like everybody watching it knows that there's so much nonsense going on, but still at the end when that happens, there's something pleasant about seeing it. I know, like, the logic and writing may not be there 100%, but the scene itself does still mean something.
Well, the reason why it doesn't hold up is because Geordi's never gone to that level of extent when it comes to engineering. Like Scotty has. I could believe Scotty could restore the Enterprise by himself in a space station, because we've seen him get inside and in deep. With Geordi, he does a lot of touching pads. And maybe he'll crawl through the Jeffrey tubes here and there, and he'll mostly touch a pad or have a rod that does a highlighting thing. We never really see him kind of move around. and
he's always been a team member. Like, he's always needed Data there to help him or somebody else. And so by himself, no. Scotty, maybe.
Which, I mean, I like Geordi a lot. I feel bad for him because throughout the entire Next Gen series, he strikes out with every woman he ever meets, and he's kind of pathetic there. But now he's got, like, 2 daughters, and we don't know who his wife is. I mean, there's an assumption, but we're not
Leah
confirmed.
Brahms.
It's an assumption, but it's not confirmed. Nope, it's an assumption, but it's not confirmed.
Well, it's not Star Trek anyway, so it's fine. But it was the case in the last episode, All Good Things.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just want to weigh in because people are like, oh, we could have finished the whole episode by now. But the thing is that if we would have done it, I think we wouldn't have had any time to kind of talk about the show. It would have been just us rushing through the scenes and just ending, like, with the buzzer and leaving. But I think that we wouldn't have been able to really dwell and be nitpicky in our conversation like we are now about things.
But we're being nitpicky about Picard, which we weren't reviewing.
Right, but we're talking about all of
right,
Star
all of
Trek
Next Generation
in general, and getting to have some fun. I mean, I look at, like, the situation we were talking about there. We're also looking at a Geordi that this is a couple decades later, and he's in charge of this museum of restoring these classic Federation starships. So if that's his job and that's his thing, then I totally believe he'd have a passion project for the starship that he had his first chief engineer position on, and would have a love for it.
And in the 25th century, nobody ever hires any security guards, so that's why no one ever catches him.
I just wanted to look at this comments. Lasher 5520 says Picard season 3 does suck, but the show Picard is so bad that it seems like season 3 is good. If season 3 were a part of DNG, we would be talking about how awful it is. Maybe it's not as strong as TNG, but there were moments that I enjoyed. But
that's why I compare it to the movies. You could say the same thing about most of the movies. When you look at
this is proto Geordi in the show. The other thing is that somebody, Rhonda Nefero, I like this comment. He said, maybe Geordi meant my crew. I often say that I built my house. I assure you it wasn't actually me. It was hired people. And Michelle Ferry says, I enjoy the panel conversations as much as the shows we are going over. Thank you so much. And Lisa Katrine says, we may wander off topic, but this is still a great live stream. Lisa Katrine is a champion bicycle rider. I don't know if that's true, Lisa. I recall you saying that you're like doing the triathlon, or
You're a
riding
champion
bicycle.
to us.
See, in my book, see, I don't even ride a bicycle. You know what I mean? So the fact that you're, doing like competitions and riding bicycles and things, to me, that's like big time. So for us, you're the I don't want to say you're the Lance Armstrong of this stream, because I think that's probably not good. But you know what I'm trying to say. I just don't know anybody else.
Never not make it weird.
I know.
The thing is that I know that he did bad things, but I can't think of a name of another guy that rides a bike. All I can think of is Lance Armstrong. His brand was so big that, like, who else if not him? What am I going to say? Like, I don't know anybody else that rides a bike except for Lisa. Lisa replaced. Okay, I know what to do. After his bad behavior, Lisa replaced Lance Armstrong.
Works for me.
I wouldn't say champion. Well, you're a champion to us. She's the Lance Armstrong before the whole scandal. Thank you, Tomahawk. That's exactly it. The Lance Armstrong before the scandal of our stream. So, yeah, I think now is a good time to start wrapping up. Mary put some shout outs. I hope you put links for everybody. Ro has his channel. Ro, he does stuff on Apple Music, Amazon Music, and Spotify. You can hear his podcast there. That's really like his main thing. But he also has a YouTube channel, so if you're not subscribed to that, you should do it. And hopefully Mary dropped the link. And then Jill, of course, Anti-Derivative Jill, she has her own channel. Great Star Trek streams, great Twilight Zone streams. I just caught one recently. I caught a few of them. And with her, like I said, it's a different experience. It's a little more kind of chill, but there's such a nice group of people hanging out there also. And like, it's more of a longer type of event. She really gives attention to a lot of details and stuff, and I like that. Let me think what else.
Hold on, Tex. We're almost done.
We are coming up on my own absence from this group. I don't understand.
It's past his bedtime. It's past all of our bedtimes. Actually.
Yeah, I got to get up at 6 a.m.
Anyhow.
Yeah, and I got to prepare my Stargate SG-1 review.
Very, very quickly, I'll say. Script Doctor has scripts on Saturdays. It's on his channel, and you should watch it. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern.
That's right.
And I think that this weekend, I'm going to be on that show, right?
Yes, sir. You're joining us this Saturday.
Great. It'll be nice to be there again. I feel like I haven't been there in a minute, so that'll be cool. Mm-hmm. And then Nicholas, the Backyard TARDIS, he of course has his channel, the Backyard TARDIS, and he talks about pop culture stuff. And he's also a member of the Red 5 Network. Oh, also, of course, I didn't introduce him like everybody else. Minister in his local town, locksmith in the local town, sheriff and fire department. Raises goats on his farms. What'd you say?
Broke into a bank today.
You did?
Wow.
Yeah, they locked the keys inside, so I had to.
Man, you are really needed in your town. There's a lot of people that just don't know how to.
So the whole reason why I was late, I had a job set up for tomorrow morning. They closed on the house tonight, but I was going to do it in the morning, and the seller refused to give them the keys. So like they signed all the paperwork, and they said, "Okay, can we have the keys?" And I said, "No."
That's
so
I
was
weird.
Supposed to go rekey it for him in the morning. I was like, "Okay, yeah, I can come tonight." But I was on a stream earlier today on the Red 5 Network talking about the Vader Master of Evil book. That was pretty good.
I saw that earlier today. You
and
guys
then
rocked it.
I'm going to be on Rose's next upcoming podcast talking Battlestar Galactica 1980.
Nice.
That drops on Saturday.
Yep. And then my next video is going to be just my latest swag haul, Sean Crummel's latest comic, some stuff from Row, different things I purchased, showing that all off.
What issue is he on? I got to get my latest one.
3. You got it before me. It's 3.
Okay.
I was
number
behind.
3. Yeah. I'll do the shout outs. Mary White, thank you so much. She's a moderator here. She concentrated the shout out. Tex Rogers, David Jones, Ron Donofero, Lisa Catryan, Malachi D. Wildman, Matthew McGee, Kit Kat, Marla Sharondoff, Alord Corey, Corbin Greiner, Michelle Ferry, Havard Owl, Jeremy Gap After Dark, and then there's Georges Irex, Corey Hansen, Tomahawk 511, FKHC 2005, Julie Evans, James Caserta, Professor R2, Mr. Phobos, Barry F., Matthew Marcillo, Caleb Levine, Not Z3PO, Lasher, Walter Tomaszewski. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But thank you all for hanging out with us and being here. Always a pleasure. And yeah, check out everybody's channels and all that good stuff. And for those that are sticking around, I think this stream should send you to the Night Owl, which is going to start in a few minutes. Thank you for everybody, for the chat, for everybody that's here, and for everybody that hung out with us here today. And we'll see you all next week. Bye.